Okay, so this is very interesting conversations with you, Cashify, um, because these conversations, we keep trying to apply skeptical criteria to us, and you're applying a skeptical criteria. You're saying that I don't give any credence to the immaterial or the inconceivable idea, for example. Oh, thank you. There wasn't enough music on the street. Okay, but anyway, the thing is, I believe that okay, okay, I take a very technical view. I'm a skeptic, and I'll tell you, I have doubted these things, and I don't say there can't be an inconceivable idea uh, in general, but we're humans, okay, and I believe we have to define the terms when we use knowledge terms and what we know and all of these terms. We have to have definitions. We have to have working definitions. They don't have to be perfect, but they have to, exist. We take assumptions of knowledge. When you assume a definition of knowledge, then uh, you're not really saying anything when you say I know something. Okay, so my definitions of knowledge have to do with an embodied mind. The mind is a material thing. Now, is the material dream stuff in a consciousness field? Sure, maybe. Then that's material. Whatever it is that's causing the perceptions. Okay, even if these perceptions have existed since time immemorial, you know, a view of this banana tree has always been there in space. There's not even a banana tree. It's just flying from infinitely off in the birth of the universe and flying to me, and it hits me. A picture of a banana tree. Fine. Then that's material, some sort of crystalline, pre-existing perceptions. That's material. I have seen such light frames of my own mind, and I believe that's where I think. And to say that something isn't conceived but known, that does not go with any definition of known. I think that is possible. We're talking about embodied minds having facts in them. So they're in there. They've been conceived. The word conceived is just a description of that state of affairs. So that's why I say, because it's part of the definitions. Now, you could say that kind of thing is circular, right? Because in regular analytics it is circular. But in my system it is not circular because it comes from the stream of perceptions, which I don't give definition other than as they appear to be. Okay? As they appear to be. I don't say they have to be this or have to have cause and effect or any rules in them. Except for that, yes, they're coming. So are there rules? Well, I wouldn't call them rules, but there are still some patterns in it, right? Like that simple assumption about perception implies the existence of some sort of agent that's perceiving, whether it's the cause or merely the effect or whatever. A part of that system I can call, the perceiver, I. Part of that system I can call time, the fact that there's a series. And there's all of this kind of sense space. There's visual space and hearing, which is very complex. There's all kinds of sense spaces, hunger. There's all of these sense spaces. And so this is a very complex thing, actually, this assumption. How can I start with such a complex thing? Isn't in philosophy we're trying to get the simplest thing? Well, it's simple in the sense that I call it perception, okay? But no, it doesn't actually have to be simple in the real world, because that is our state of nature. That is the nature of an embodied mind, I believe, and certainly my nature as an individual, that I'm getting these sense perceptions. And that's what I'm starting with. I'm starting with whatever I as a brain start with. Okay? You want me to question that? Well, this is how I question it. I accept the perceptions. I notice the material world. I see my brain seems to be a material thing. I see if you touch brains, they materially act differently in the world. And thus, that does start to be explained. But I never get underneath my perceptions. It's only by assuming the perceptions to begin with, and by admitting that the things that I have conceived of um, are the only candidates for my knowledge. Okay. So, in terms of a perfect silence, like I've been saying, um, I'm just saying there needs to be evidence. Now, if you keep telling me, but Piro, don't how do you know that the non-evident doesn't also exist? I believe the non-evident exists. There's all kinds of evidence I haven't gotten yet. I believe these things that potential evidence refers to exist. But they're non-evident at the time, right now. But that doesn't mean you can ask me to believe them before they're evident. What am I believing in then? The fact they might exist? Yeah, I believe in that. So the perfect silence might exist. It might, except for, to me, no matter what, it's going to be like a blank piece of paper. It's like saying a perfectly blank piece of paper, a perfectly blank canvas exists. But the canvas always is made of material stuff with some color, or it's transparent, or, it has a physical character to it. There's none of those is the perfect in this ideal sense of a nothingness. It's simply perfect in its uniformity. It's uniform things make good uh, candidates for taking impressions. Uniform things do. So silence is more about this uniform sonic space where you picture it undisturbed, using as a metaphor when it is less disturbed rather than more disturbed. Cheers.